Sad to say that one of the greatest punters in NFL history has passed away. According to his alma mater, Southern Mississippi, Ray Guy has died at the age of 72 following a lengthy illness.
Congratulations to Ray Guy, who was something very special as a football player. I remember when we drafted with the Oakland Raiders, we took Ray Guy #1. Everyone said, how can you draft a punter #1? And we said, because he's not only the best punter in the draft, he's the best punter that's ever punted a football.
Black and gold comes out of my blood. So I got a lot of pride in the University of Southern Miss. And what I'm trying to instill in you, I want you to carry on that pride that you got to be proud of.
You know my legacy will be forever a part of pro football history, and that my bust will be alongside the greatest athletes of all times. It leaves this old punter speechless. So in closing, all I can say is that it was for the love of the game that I am here tonight. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay. I represent a boy named Bill Maloof. Maloof played up at Ole Miss. He was a defensive back, and he is going to run Ray Guy's punt in for a touchdown. He was dead determined. Biddy Kennard was his coach, and he said he lined up on the 50, and Biddy was motioning him to move back to the Ole Miss 45. And he said, no, so ain't nobody gonna kick it this far. And he said, so I didn't want to, but I started going back, and I was back to my 45, and the second they snapped the ball to Ray to punt, I broke, and I ran to the 45 of Southern. And he said, about halfway to the 45, I looked up and saw the ball still climbing. He said, and I got this, oh Lord, I know I'm in trouble. He said, I turned around and broke, and last time I saw the ball, it was rolling out of the end zone. Ray was just like a member of the family. And matter of fact, he had the old cheap $10 guitar around. He learned to play, and he became a tremendous guitar player. I've got stuff hanging in there on the walls where Ray personally did made me a golden eagle in there out of thread. And Ray was just a tremendous human. And the way I remember Ray was delighted when he could go make somebody less fortunate feel good. He never turned me down. One time I'd ask him to go to somebody that people called me about, or go make a little speech to them. He didn't care where it was, it didn't impress him. And I guess it hadn't been just a few months ago, a friend of mine who involved with us when we got the Buick dealership here called me and said his church had gone to the hospital, and there was a kid in there that was dying of cancer, a young man, and he walked in there and he had Ray Guy stuff all around the wall, and Ray was his hero. And he called me and he said, Bud, there'd be any way I could get Ray maybe to call or send a boy a little letter or something. And I said, well, better than that, here's Ray's number, and I called Ray. So Ray apparently talked to him, because when I talked to Joe, he said, man, said that kid died, but he died a happy, happy kid, because his hero, Ray Guy, he called him. And anyway, that's the Ray I remember.
My name is Donnie Jones. I played football for the LSU Fighting Tigers from 2000 to 2003. I was a member of the 03 BCS National Championship team. I went on to have a 15-year NFL career playing for 6 teams, winning a Super Bowl with Philadelphia in 2017. What does Ray Guy mean to me? Well, I had the opportunity to meet Ray for the first time in the late 1990s. I was a young aspiring punter at Catholic High School in Baton Rouge, and remember attending his camps, looking for a way to better my game. I needed technique work, I needed form work, and my dad found Pro Kicker. Getting to meet him for the first time was surreal. He was a guy that everybody looked up to, everybody aspired to be, and he taught me so much, not only about punting form and technique, but about the game of football, the game of life. Getting to hear his stories of the great Raiders teams he was part of in the 70s, and the things that he was able to accomplish. 14-year career, 6-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champion, and the first pure punter elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Ray was an inspiration to me. He was an inspiration to many. He's a guy that did so much for the game, brought so much awareness to how important punting is in the game. He's a true pioneer. He's a legend. He's a game changer. And he's a guy that will be dearly missed. Thank you, Ray, for everything that you did for me and everything you did for punters everywhere. I miss you.
G'day there, it's Nathan Chapman from Pro Kick Australia here. Sending a little message on behalf of everyone here at Pro Kick, sending our warmest wishes, hugs and prayers to Sandy and the family and all the friends of the great Ray Guy. What a man, what a legacy, and what a huge inspiration that he's had on us and everything that we've done across here in Australia. Met Ray back in 2003, actually shook his hand for the first time and was blown away by the size of his hands. And then I got to watch him punt. I was probably about 50 at the time, and he was smacking them. And I was inspired and in awe from that day forward. And little beknowns, another 7 or 8 years later, I was running my own camps here in Australia and based around everything that we learned off Ray and Rick, and got to teaching. And now, 15, 16 years later, I've had the great fortune to be able to have met Ray and spent time with him at his camps for many years. And we've brought hundreds of players across specifically to meet Ray and understand who he is and what he was all about, all down at the Hattiesburg camps. So you've had a huge impact on every punter here in Australia. You've had a huge impact on me personally as a person. I thank you for your mentorship. I thank you for everything you've done for us. To the Ray Guy winners, for the Australians that have won it, they're blessed to be in your company, and we thank you so much. You've inspired us. You've inspired us to want to be better people. You've inspired us to want to be better punters, and we thank you. So from Pro Kick, from Nathan, from me personally, love you, mate. Rest easy, big fella. You've got a special place in my heart. Love you, mate.
Hey, this is Travis Dorsch coming to you from Logan, Utah, on the beautiful campus of Utah State University. I just wanted to reach out and send my deepest condolences to the Ray Guy family, and not just his immediate family, who of course is hurting during these times, but everybody that Ray's touched, and that includes me and all of those that he's mentored over the years, those that have followed in his footsteps, those that have looked up to him and idolized him, and many of us that have won an award in his honor. I was fortunate and blessed to have won the 2001 Ray Guy Award, punting for Purdue University. And when I think about Ray, I just think about what a trailblazer, how fortunate so many of us were to follow in his footsteps. I grew up a Chargers fan in Southern California, and I remember watching Ray beat our Chargers all the time with his leg. He was such a weapon. And as I grew in my football career and figured out that punting was going to be a pathway for me to succeed in college and in the NFL, I wanted to emulate Ray. I wanted to be a weapon. I wanted to be able to turn that field over and be the defensive coordinator's best friend. And I think, not only his prowess on the field, but Ray was just such a dude. He was just such a good guy. And I loved spending time at him with camps. I loved spending time with him when I won the Ray Guy Award and doing the circuit with him, from the ESPN show to spending time in Augusta to working with underprivileged kids, on the football field at his camps and really seeing that next generation, even beyond me, now come along. And these are the guys today that are playing in college and the NFL. So in so many ways, Ray's legacy will live on forever. It's going to be generations of folks that have been touched by Ray, even though he's not with us anymore. And to those of us in his family, both his immediate family and his extended family, I just want to say we love you all. Ray will not be forgotten. He's a huge part of my life. I know he's a huge part of many of yours. And I look forward to the next time we can all come together and break bread and raise a toast to Ray. Thanks, everybody.
Hey everyone, Drew Butler here from the University of Georgia, 2009 Ray Guy Award winner. And obviously heartbroken to hear of Ray's passing. Ray meant so much to so many people, and especially being from the state of Georgia and an avid football fan growing up, Ray Guy was everything when I wanted to become a punter. Remember going to his camps when I was in high school. Ray showed up in Atlanta. I thought it was awesome. It was so cool to get to know him, and then obviously having success in college and then being able to win the award that his name was on, be a finalist the year after that, and then get to be around Ray once a year in Augusta, in Atlanta, or in Orlando during the awards ceremony is something that I'll always hold very, very near to my heart. With my dad being a very famous place kicker, the only place kicker in the College Football Hall of Fame for a really long time, and Ray was the only punter in the College Football Hall of Fame for a really long time. I always had a true appreciation for the greatness that Ray was able to achieve and the standard that he set for every punter out there. I always used to joke with my dad, who's pretty much done it all and seen it all, that I have two things that he'll never have: a college degree and the Ray Guy Award, because my dad had left school early to go play in the NFL. Well, guess what? In 2018, my dad went back to school and he got his college degree, but he still could never get a Ray Guy Award. So I'll always have that one up on him. Prayers go out to Ray, his entire family, what he did for the game of football, what he did for special teams, and what his legacy continues to do for everyone who wants to grow up to be a punter, who works hard to perfect the craft that he did perfect. Ray's a really, really special person. I'll always cherish the times that I had with him, and having my name on that trophy is something that is very, very special to me, and it gets even more special every single day. So rest in peace, Ray. Prayers to the entire family, and honored to be asked to send a few words in.
Hi, I'm Rich Camarillo, and I'd like to share a couple stories about Ray and what he meant to me. As a kid, growing up in Los Angeles, I loved kicking and punting, and not until 1973 did I have someone to look up to. That was the year Ray got drafted first round by the Raiders, and me being on the West Coast, I was very aware of this new guy that's coming in, and I just loved watching him punt. I'd see him on TV, I'd run out in the street and try to emulate him, and my neighbors would always see me outside kicking. And one time a neighbor brought a book with Ray's picture on the cover with his leg extended with that perfect form. And my neighbor asked me if I wanted that book. So I said, sure. And I tore the cover off with Ray's picture, put it on the back of my door. This was in the 9th grade. And I had it hanging on my door up until I went off to college to Washington. And in fact, my mom still has that picture in a box in her garage. But he was just somebody that came along who was great and immediately caught my attention. And I wanted to go out and punt the ball like Ray. I never went out for football until high school, so finally when I did, then I had success, and there was a path that I could follow now to college and hopefully the pros. Well, I got there, and I played against Ray quite a few times, but I was never able to meet him. Ray, being the competitor he was, told me that he didn't have time to be anybody's friend before or after a game. He was there to compete. So 20 years or so after I am out of the NFL, I get an opportunity to work for the Ray Guy camps. So I go, not knowing I would meet Ray. I thought I might just, they might have just been using his name. But first camp I go to, I meet Ray in Atlanta, and I'm just excited to meet him. I finally get to meet my idol, and someone I had a picture of on the back of my door when I was a kid. And anyhow, a lot of people you hear, they meet their idols and their disappointment. I was not. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to meet Ray Guy. Very nice guy. Spent many times chatting with him about punting, just about everything. And he'll be missed. He was ahead of his time, and I'm just so happy that he finally got to see himself get into the Hall of Fame and enjoy all the festivities that must have went along with it. I'm just so glad he was able to be alive and be a part of all that. I think it meant a lot to Ray to get in. It meant a lot to me to finally see Ray Guy get in, because it was long overdue. Anyhow, Ray will be missed. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andy Lee. I'm currently the punter for the Arizona Cardinals and have played in the NFL for 19 seasons. I first met Ray in 2001, I believe, the summer of 2001 at one of his kicking camps as I was going into my sophomore year at the University of Pittsburgh. Ray took what I did and made some changes. even though there were like little small things, little tweaks here and there, and basically took me from a good punter into a great punter. And that's one thing I loved about Ray is his teaching at his camps. He always looked at the person, the punter, and made them better, not tried to change them into who he was or anything, just basically took the small things that they did and turned them into a better punter when they left the camp. As the summers went on, I started working his camps and got to know him as a person and what a great man he is, and just was so grateful for that friendship that we formed, and just his help along the way, and what he did for the NFL, being obviously the best punter ever to play, and just turning that position into an art form, and just making it so unique, and paving the way for guys like me and other guys to come in and have successful careers was awesome. And his legacy will always live on. I just wanted to say to his friends and his family, I'm so sorry for your loss, and my thoughts and prayers are with you guys. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Andy Smith. I currently work ProKicker.com camps, which Rick Sang started with Ray years ago. I'm a former punter at the University of Kentucky. 1999 was my last season there. And I met Ray probably in 1996. Rick and I flew out to, I think it was Redlands University in California, and worked a camp there. I never played football until I was a junior in high school. I never punted the ball until I was a senior, so I was a late starter. But from that day of meeting those guys and working with Ray, I really tried to emulate his form, which is, picture perfect. So even today in camps where we teach kicking and punting, I show these kids, this logo of Ray on their shirts, and it's kind of like the Jerry West NBA logo. It's iconic, but the way he came straight up through the football and exploded off the ground is, it's what we teach. And so just so fortunate to have met Ray and learned from him. And then about 4 years ago, my son, who at that time was a freshman in high school, we did a camp down in Petal, Mississippi, and Ray came and was able to work with my son. So it's pretty cool, to learn from the greatest of all time to ever do it. Myself, I ended up being first team All SEC in college, and now my son is on scholarship at the University of Kentucky, Jackson, as a kicker and punter. So, what a cool thing to learn from the greatest to ever play that position. So to Ryan and the family, our thoughts and prayers are with you, and rest in peace, Ray.
Hi, my name is Daniel Sepulveda, and I'm privileged to have the opportunity to share my impressions of Ray Guy in celebration of his life. I heard a lot about Ray before I had the chance to meet him for the first time. And when I did finally get to meet him, it was obvious that he was in fact the fun-loving Georgia boy that so many people had suggested he was by reputation. Ray had this wide winning grin that just jumped off his face. Offset from the deeper features of his face, you could tell that this guy knew how to have fun. Another thing was obvious. This was a tremendous athlete. You could tell based on his frame, his shoulders, his hands, all corroborating evidence to the plethora of highlight videos I'd seen to that point of Ray just smashing a football. And not only that, but not just as a punter, but as an athlete generally. This guy was a stud. So I liked him right away. I did finally get to meet Ray, first in 2004, and then again later in 2006, and then at a couple of punting and kicking camps of his in between and thereafter. And one particular story comes to mind. Having won the Ray Guy Award, you show up to these camps with some degree of notoriety, as if you know what you're doing. There's some sort of expertise attributed to you after you win this award, and certainly at this camp, in this context. And so Ray's explaining something to the campers and turns to me to be an illustration or an example. So he gives me a football and I go to punt it, and I endeavor to do what he's trying to illustrate, and so I punt the ball, and it's a pretty good kick, if I recall correctly, and he immediately starts to rib me to all the campers because my follow-through is crossing over my body instead of staying straight ahead like his does, and really only like his did. And I remember thinking, who do you think I am? That's just it. Ray was the best, and when he punted, he looked the best, and he looked like the best. It truly was poetry in motion. Nobody quite looked like Ray when they kicked the football. But in remembering his life and my interactions with him, the thing I take with me most is Ray's example as an advocate. He cared very deeply about punting and kicking. He'd been given a gift, and he made it his life's mission to see that that gift was honored in the public sphere as much as it should be. In remembering him, I examine my own life. Say, gosh, God, what gifts have you given me, and how can I use the time and the talent and the gifts that you've given me to further your purposes, to be an advocate like Ray was. So, Ray, thank you for your work in the punting and kicking community. Peace to you and to your family, and peace to all of us as we examine our own lives based on your example to go and live the best life that we can. So, Ray, thank you very much.
Greetings everyone out there in Mississippi. My name is Nick Harris, and I just want to express my condolences to the family of Ray Guy and to everyone out there who knew him, who's mourning this loss. My prayers go out to you, and may the peace that surpasses understanding guard you in the coming days as we mourn the life of this great man. I met Ray in 1997 at the University of Pacific, where he was holding a punters and kickers camp. I was a college freshman. Ray had asked that I come in to be an instructor, just being a local college kid. And I can remember vividly watching Ray, still in his probably mid to late 50s, kick footballs and turnover spirals at this camp. And I remember asking Ray, I said, hey Ray, do you think you could still play? And he said, yeah, I could still play. If Al Davis would pay me enough, I would go back, right? And I thought that was hilarious. Well, it was about a day later when I was doing some demonstrations for the camp that Ray said something that probably changed my life forever. He said, you know what, Nick, you kick like me, right? And I don't know if you could say anything to anybody that would build them up, right? In the profession that I was pursuing, like that was it. Because here's the greatest player to ever kick a football, right? You talk about the greatest basketball player, Michael Jordan. You talk about the greatest tennis player, right? Probably Roger Federer, right? You can go down and down and down the list, and there's always that guy at the top, right? Ray was that guy in punting. And to have him tell me that there was something in me that reminded him of himself, like that just stuck with me all my life, right? And I went on to have a great college career and played 12 years in the NFL. And I could tell you the guiding thing that helped me in time, ups and downs all throughout my career, the thing that helped me was remembering that Ray Guy told me that I kicked like him, right? And that was just such a blessing in my life. It was such a blessing just to know Ray and his family. I even got to go out to Thompson, Georgia to kick on his high school football field with, and I went to Paul Leroy's house, his high school coach, and got to experience that whole way of life out there in the South, and the way that you guys lived and loved him and treasured him. What a guy, what a name, and man, he's gonna be remembered, and I just have a tremendous place in my heart. So may God bless you in this event, and may he give you that peace that surpasses understanding through it all. Thank you.
This is Mike Bartram. Wanted to reach out to the Ray Guy family to let y'all know that the Bartram family has your whole family in our thoughts and our prayers daily. Relationships are very important in everybody's life, and a relationship with the Sang family many years ago when I played football here at Marshall University led me to Ray Guy. What a privilege and an honor to be able to meet Ray at one of his football camps and help with the camp that day that Mr. Sang introduced me, and it's like I've known him forever. And also that day, kind of a thing that I'll never forget is being able to snap a football to an NFL Hall of Fame punter. But what I realized is he wasn't only an NFL Hall of Fame punter, He's an NFL Hall of Fame person. And that's most important at the end of the day, what kind of person you were, how you treated people. And Ray was definitely one of those guys. We miss him every day, each and every day of our life. I think it's very fitting that things that happen, they happen for a reason. And when I was fortunate enough to take the job here for Coach Huff at Marshall University 2 years ago, he allowed us to have a Bible study. And this Bible study we just got out of this afternoon. So I want to share this with you guys because that's very fitting for this video. In John 3:1, it says, "See how much our Father loves us, for he calls us his children." And that is what we are. And that's what Ray Guy was. He was a child of God. Look forward to seeing you again, Ray. And as the saying goes, it's never goodbye, it's see you later. God bless.
Well, when you hear the name Ray Guy, particularly around here at the University of Southern Mississippi, you think about one of the most versatile athletes in the history of Southern Miss athletics, and then on into the pro football world, obviously the greatest punter that ever lived. At Southern Miss, as a baseball player, he was a tremendous pitcher. He pitched no-hitters and did amazing things on the baseball diamond. At football, he set record after record, not only at Southern Miss, but around the world of college football. One of my favorite stories, Ray, and I witnessed this one, is one year he was working a football camp here at Southern Miss, and the young campers were sort of paying attention to him as he tried to teach them how to kick the football. Finally, he said, "All right, hold on." He said, "I'm going to show you something." And he pointed to a garbage can that was about 45 yards away down around the goal line. And he said, "Always kick to a spot." And I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it, but he kicked the football that day and it landed right in the middle of that garbage can. And those young campers who weren't paying a whole lot of attention, all of a sudden their eyes got really big and they couldn't believe what they'd just seen. Ray Guy was an amazing athlete. At Southern Miss, he pitched a no-hitter one afternoon in baseball down the road at Greater Hattiesburg Park, and then came back to work out at spring football practice, and none of his football teammates even had known that he had pitched a no-hitter earlier that day. So he was a guy that made what seemed to be the impossible seem possible. If you ever was around Ray Guy, he was a guy that just always had a way of making you feel special. A great athlete at Southern Miss, a guy who carried the Southern Miss banner around the country wherever he went. I was really lucky to be in Canton, Ohio a few years ago when Ray Guy was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He had spent that afternoon, this is the kind of guy Ray was, he had spent that afternoon sitting around with some young punters from the NFL who on their own had come to Canton to be there to honor the only punter in the history of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Ray Guy was sharing all the things he had learned and all the tricks that he had learned and all the stories he had from his career in the NFL. Later that night, as he was inducted officially into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it was amazing how many people sat there very quietly listening to every word that Ray had to say. But he was a guy that loved the University of Southern Mississippi. There's no doubt about that. A guy who came here at Southern Miss that was known but not really known by a lot of people. But at Southern Miss, Ray Guy became one of the great athletes in the history of Southern Miss. Again, a baseball pitcher, a punter, a kicker, a defensive back. His name still is all over the Southern Miss record book in regards to football. We're going to miss him. He loved Southern Miss, and we loved Ray Guy back because he was Mr. Southern Miss. And so all our thoughts and prayers go out to the Guy family, but thanks for all the things he did. Nobody was better than Ray Guy when it came to playing the game of football and kicking the football. And we were so lucky here at Southern Miss to have a bit of his time be here with our Golden Eagles. So to the Ray Guy family, our thoughts and prayers go out to you. Thank you for sharing Ray Guy with our Southern Miss family. He was the best. We're going to miss Ray Guy.
Hi, I'm Joe Horrigan, Senior Advisor here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I knew Ray for quite a while, even before he was elected to the Hall of Fame as a candidate for the Hall of Fame. there were no punters in the Hall of Fame, as you know. And, we'd often have that conversation, not with Ray, but people that supported him, is why are there no punters, and certainly why isn't Ray Guy yet in the Hall of Fame? I used to always say, it's not a question of if, just when. And it eventually happened. Just like being a first-round draft pick surprised folks, maybe it surprised folks that Ray wasn't in the Hall of Fame. But certainly he earned the right to be in the Hall of Fame. When Ray became a punter in the NFL, he redefined what that role was. He was a great athlete. Many don't even remember the fact that he was the Raiders' emergency quarterback. He was that good of an athlete. But he also changed what punting meant in the NFL. The term hang time is a result of how he kicked that ball so high that returners just had to sit there and wait and anticipate being hit because it wasn't going to be much of a return. In fact, the great Billy White Shoes Johnson, who used to embarrass punters, said returning a Ray Guy punt was almost impossible because you had to wait so long for it to come down. And when Ray Guy was elected to the Hall of Fame, he said something interesting. He said, the Pro Football Hall of Fame now finally has a full team. And he was right. And Ray, now heaven finally has a full team as well.
Believe me, it's been a long and winding road from the farmlands of South Georgia to the hallowed halls of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Even though there will be no more games to play, records to set, or championships to win, for to be a part of this very special clubhouse called the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and knowing it's forever, it's beyond my wildest dreams. Since being selected into the Hall of Fame, I've looked back through my life wondering how and where this all started. Did I plan this journey? Was this supposed to happen? Is this what I had to do? Did I want to play just one sport, or do I want to have fun and play all of them? I was a good athlete and could have been a major league pitcher or an NBA basketball player. But I knew God had something special for me. And eventually one sport would stand out beyond the rest. And it did. Playing in the NFL with the Raiders was my destiny. I realized I had to concentrate on just one thing: being the best punter I could be. There was nothing too technical or complicated about how I punted the ball. I was just totally committed to my craft and the diligent in my preparation. Though I may not have realized that at the time, all those years of playing football, I was setting benchmarks for young athletes to follow. I hope I inspire young punters to achieve their dreams to one day play in the NFL and maybe even be elected into the Hall of Fame. It's been a long, long overdue, but now the Hall of Fame has a complete team. Punters are a very important part of a team, regardless of how many times they step onto the field. It only takes one play to change the outcome of a game. It's awesome to be considered one of the game's best and a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. To know my legacy will be forever a part of pro football history, and that my bust will be alongside the greatest athletes of all times. It leaves this old punter speechless.